Let's continue our discussion on refraction. In today's lecture, we are going to study the phenomena corresponding to refraction. Some of the phenomena, like it may be the lateral shift, the normal shift, and the most important one is the total internal reflection. Okay, now, these are the natural phenomena which occurs in the nature, and we can easily explain by using the concept of refraction, by using the simple laws corresponding to refraction. Let me start one by one. First is the lateral shift. Okay, so in our last lecture, we have studied about refraction, the laws of refraction, and the ray diagram when light travels from denser to rarer or rarer to denser. Okay, so what is meant by lateral shift? See, lateral shift is an example for double refraction. See, what is meant by double refraction? Double refraction means, okay, so for the sake of explanation, let me take a parallel sided glass slab. Okay, so it is a glass slab. Are you getting me? A glass slab that is parallel sided glass slab. Okay, so this is a parallel sided glass slab. Uh, Let me take its refractive index as N2. Okay, N2 is the refractive index of parallel sided glass slab, and N1 is the refractive index of surrounding medium. See, you know that. See, the surrounding medium is usually air medium. Therefore, we can say that. So here the N2 is greater than the N1. The refractive index of the glass slab is greater than the refractive index of air medium. Therefore, we can say that N2 is greater than N1. Okay, so let me draw the ray diagram. Let me take a monochromatic light. For an example, let me take yellow light, a monochromatic light. Monochromatic means the single color. Okay, in ray optics, usually take a single ray as a single color. Okay, so let me take the monochromatic light, a single color. uh, okay, so here I am taking the yellow one. So next is the normal. What is normal? The line which is perpendicular to the surface is called normal. I can see here. Okay, so this is the normal, and this angle is nothing but the angle of incidence. Okay, this angle is angle of incidence. Okay, so by using this Snell's law, we can say that when light travels from rarer medium to denser medium, it bend towards normal. Okay, so we are, in the last lecture we have proved that I is greater than R, therefore your R should be less than I. So for this purpose, okay, if this purpose has to be satisfied, then it should bend towards normal. Okay, so this is your refracted ray, and this is nothing but your angle of refraction. Okay, let me take the angle of refraction as R. Okay, again you can see that now this phenomena is a double refraction. Why double refraction? Because there are two interfering phases here. Okay, if I call this parallel sided glass slab as A, B, C and D, you can see that AB is the first interface which separate N1 and N2. Okay, so AB, above AB you have a medium of refractive index N1, and below AB you have a medium of refractive index N2. Similarly in the DC, you can see here above which medium it is N2, and below which medium it is N1. Okay, so DC again it is the interface which separate the two mediums, the glass and air. Okay, so whenever the medium changes, refraction take place. So you can see here, so when you move from this medium to this medium, your medium is changing, therefore the deviation take place, refraction take place. Similarly, okay, so when this ray move from this medium to this medium, again the medium changes, definitely the refraction takes place. Okay, so again, after again draw a normal. Okay, so this becomes the your angle of incidence here. Okay, for the second surface. Then you can see here when light travel from denser medium to rarer medium, what happens? Okay, so it bend away from the normal. Usually it bend away from the normal. It bend away from the normal. Is it correct? Okay, it bent away from the normal. So let me call this angle as I dash. Why I'm calling it as I dash? Now see, and I call this angle as, let me take, okay, so this angle is also becomes R. Let me prove it by using the basic geometry. Why I'm taking it as I dash? See, light has the property of reversibility. Okay, light has the property of reversibility. Okay, if the same light is incident on this particular medium, then in the same direction light emerges from the other surface. Okay, so therefore the light has the property of reversibility. Therefore again I take this angle as I only. You can see here, so in the last cases, in the single refraction, you have only two mediums. You have only two rays here, incident ray and refracted ray. But in case of double refraction, you can see that there are three rays are there, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, let me name them. So let me call this ray as PQ. Okay, let me call this one as QR and this one as RS. So I have three rays here. PQ, as usual, PQ is called incident ray. PQ is called incident ray, and QR, sure, it is called as refracted ray. A refracted ray, but this time the RS is called emergent ray. Okay, so it finally emerges from the surface, therefore it is called emergent ray, and I dash is called angle of emergence. Again, you can see that I is called angle of incidence. I is called angle of incidence. Okay, and R is the angle of refraction, and I dash is nothing but the angle of emergence. And finally, this emerges from the other surface, therefore it is called angle of emergence. Okay, so what is meant by lateral shift here? Okay, so now this is okay, the usual phenomena which takes place in nature in day-to-day life. We also observe. Okay, I can show you some of the example corresponding to lateral shift here. So before that, so we have to study what is meant by a lateral shift. Okay, so now see here. First, I have to write the relation between I and I dash. So for that one, very simple. I have to apply the Snell's law. Okay, so whenever the refraction take place, you can apply the refraction has to satisfy the Snell's law, the laws of refraction. So let me apply Snell's law at the surface. Let me apply the Snell's law at the surface AB. Okay, so let me take my first surface as AB. Okay, so what does the Snell's law says? The refractive index of the medium into sine of angle in that medium is equal to refractive index of the other medium into sine of angle in that medium. Refractive index of the medium is what? Here it is N1 into sine of angle in that medium. Okay, you can see here N1 and sine of angle in that medium is, in this medium, what is the angle here? I. Therefore, this becomes N1 sine of I is equal to, okay, is equal to, what is the second medium? N2 into, what is the angle in that medium? You can see here the angle in that medium is R. So you can write N2 sine of R. So this is my first equation. Okay. So similarly, again at the surface CD, the refraction take place. Again, you can apply the Snell's law. So again, apply the Snell's law. Apply Snell's law. Apply Snell's law at the surface. At the surface CD. Okay, apply the Snell's law at the surface CD. Okay, so refract again the same into the refractive index of the medium, refractive index of the medium into sine of angle in that medium. Sine of r is equal to the refractive index of the other medium, that is n1, into sine of angle in that medium, that is I dash. Is it correct? Are you getting me? Okay, very simple. The Snell's law says that refractive index of the medium into sine of angle in that medium, that should be equal to refractive index of the other medium into sine of angle in that medium. So this becomes n2 into sine of r is equal to n1 into sine of I dash. Okay, before that, see, I have taken r. Okay, so I have taken this angle is also r, this angle is also r. Why? This is very simple. You can see here. Okay, you can see here. What type of angles they are? Alternate angles or corresponding angles. You can see here. Are you getting me? Okay, so if this angle is r, according to the basic geometry which you studied in 8th and 9th, okay, so if this angle is r, whatever this angle is also r. Is it correct? Okay, this angle is r, this angle also becomes r. Okay, therefore I am not writing r1 and r2. I simply written r here. Okay, so n2 into sine of r is equal to n1 into sine of I dash. Let me call it as equation number 2. Okay, if you look at equation 1 and 2, okay, if you look at equation 1 and 2, from equation 1 and 2, from equation 1 and 2, from equation 1 and 2, you can clearly see that, okay, so in equation 1, your right hand side, and in equation 2, your left hand side are same, they are equal. Okay, so therefore, if I compare equation 1 and 2, I can say that n1 into sine of I, okay, that is equal to n2 into sine of r, and n2 into sine of r is nothing but n1 into sine of I dash. Therefore, I can say that n1 into sine of I is equal to n1 into sine of I dash. You can see here the n1 get cancelled. Therefore, you can write sine of I is equal to sine of I dash. Okay, if sine of I is equal to sine of I dash, if the functions are same, then angles must also be same. Therefore, you can write I is equal to I dash. Now, this is very interesting. Okay, so when light passes through the parallel sided glass slab, then your angle of incidence and angle of emergence are equal. Okay, if your angle of incidence is 30 degree, your angle of emergence is also 30 degree. That means what? There is no deviation. There is no deviation. You can see here. So, okay, so I'm moving towards this particular direction. Okay, so I'm moving towards this particular direction with an angle of 30 degree. So after passing through the parallel sided glass slab, I'm moving with the same angle, 30 degree only. That means there is no deviation. You can see here, there is no deviation. Okay, so light is moving like this. Okay, so instead of moving in this particular direction, it is moving in this direction. That means it is not deviated. What is meant by deviated? If the light changes its direction, then it is deviation. But in this case, light has not changed its direction. Simply it is shifted. Okay, instead of moving in this particular direction, it is moving in southeast direction. Still it is moving in southeast direction only, but instead of moving in this direction, okay, slowly it is shifted here. Therefore, it is not deviation. This is called shift. And we have two types of shift. One is called lateral shift and second is called normal shift. This is an example for lateral shift. What is meant by lateral shift? Okay, so you're moving like this. If you change your direction, okay, along this direction, see, you have the two views here. So now this is called lateral view. We are moving like this. Okay, so you can see that in case of traveling microscopes, we can move the microscope in two particular direction. So this is one direction. So we call it as lateral direction. Okay, moving in the x-axis. And second one is if you are moving in the y-axis up and down, then it is called normal direction. So this time the light get deviated in the what? This particular direction. Therefore, we call this shift as the lateral shift. This is nothing but an lateral shift, and lateral shift take place only when you have an parallel sided glass slab. That means what? This face and this face should be parallel. It is not applicable for non-parallel surface like a prism. It is applicable only for the parallel sided glass slab. Are you getting me? Okay. So what is matter of lateral shift? You can see here, in the absence of the medium, light would have been traveled in this particular direction. But due to the presence of medium, it gets shifted. It gets shifted here. How much is the shift here? How will you calculate shift? Very simple. Okay, so you have to find the distance between the direction of incident ray and direction of emergent ray. Simply you have to draw a perpendicular line which is perpendicular to emergent ray and direction of incident ray. You can see here, this is nothing but your lateral shift. Okay, so this is the amount of shift here. What is lateral shift? Lateral shift is the perpendicular distance between your lateral shift. LS is nothing but it is the perpendicular distance between the direction of incident ray and the emergent ray. Okay, lateral shift is the perpendicular distance between the direction of incident ray the direction of incident ray and the emergent direction of incident ray and emergent ray direction of incident ray and emergent ray. Okay, LS, we can find the value of LS. Okay, simply by using some geometry you can easily derive the value of LS. So this is not for our syllabus, therefore I am directly mentioning the value of LS. Okay, what is the value of LS? LS is nothing but T into sine of I minus R divided by cos R. Okay, so in higher classes or by using the simple geometry you can easily derive the expression for lateral shift here. Okay, so this is about the lateral shift. So why this lateral shift take place? It is due to the double refraction. So similarly, if the shift take place along the normal direction, okay, along the normal direction, then we call this such kind of shift as normal shift. So let me take the second one as the normal shift here. Normal shift. Normal shift. Okay, so what is meant by normal shift? Again, you can see here. Okay, so let me take for the refraction to take place, you should have two mediums. So this is one medium. Okay, let me take this. Some object is there. It emit lights here. Okay, so now this is the first possible. Okay, so this is the first ray diagram. So this is source, point source. So it will take refractive index of this medium as N2 and the surrounding medium as N1. You can draw a large number of ray diagrams here. Okay, everything they will intersect at a point, and that point we call it as image. Okay, so but minimum two rays are enough to form an image. So this is the first ray. It falls normally. Therefore, when I is 0, R is also 0. Okay, when I is 0, when angle of incidence is 0, angle of refraction also becomes 0 here. So let me take the one more here. Okay, so this is the one more ray. So it falls like this. So this is the point of incidence. So let me draw a normal here. a line which is perpendicular to surface is the normal. Now this time you can see that some angle is there. Okay, it admits certain angle. So when it is traveling from, let me again take that, if n2 is greater than, there may be two possibility, n1 may be greater than n2, n2 may be greater than n1 here. Okay, so let me assume that n2 is greater than n1. So when light is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium, what happens? It move away from the normal. It move away from the normal. Okay, you can see here. Now these two refracted rays never intersect. They never intersect. Therefore, you are not going to get any image. But due to the optical illusion. Okay, so I can give an example here. You can see here. So you can see here these two rays, okay, they never intersect, but a person standing here, okay, according to him, what happens due to optical illusion? Okay, so these two rays are appears to coming from this particular point. Okay, therefore, actually object is here, but for the particular person, the object is appears to be here. Are you getting me? Okay, so you can see here. Okay, you can see this example. So when you put a coin in a beaker, okay, if you put some water in the beaker, then what happens? The coin is appears to be raised. You can have the large number of examples here. Okay, the coin is appears to be raised. Why this take place? Definitely it is due to the normal shift. Actually, coin is here, but it appears to be raised here. Similarly, okay, so when you go to some waterfalls, you can see the stone here. Actually, it is not in the right position. Okay, this appears to be raised. Okay, if you are going to put your leg on that particular stone, definitely you can experience its actual depth and apparent depth are different. This is the actual depth. This is the real depth. Okay, so this is the real depth, and this one is, it appears. Okay, some stone is there, it is appears to be raised here. What happens? Now see, you consider that the stone is present here only, therefore it is not the actual point, it is appears. It is called apparent depth. This depth is called apparent depth. Therefore you have two type of, okay, so real depth and apparent depth. And you can see here this object is shifted here due to refraction. It's shifted here. Now such kind of shift is called the normal shift. This is nothing but an normal shift here. This is nothing but, this is the value of normal shift. Okay, this normal shift. What is normal shift? Normal shift is nothing but the difference of real depth and apparent depth. Okay, it's a difference of real depth and apparent depth, and in higher classes you can easily, okay, so derive this particular derivation. Ns is equal to T into 1 minus N1 by N2. Okay, where T is nothing but the thickness or real depth. N1 and N2 are the refractive index of the two mediums. Okay, so this is about lateral shift and normal shift. So why this lateral shift and normal shift take place? Simply remember that it is due to the refraction. Due to the refraction of light, we have the lateral shift as well as the normal shift here. Let me go to the third one. Third main application of refraction, that is TIR. Total internal reflection. That is something but the total internal reflection. Okay, total internal reflection. What is meant by total internal reflection? Why it is called total reflection? Now see here, what is meant by reflection? You see here, when light falls on the medium, if it goes back to the same medium, then we call that phenomena as reflection. That is nothing but reflection. But in reality, okay, if the 100% of light is falls on the object, practically in reality, then the 90% of the light is get reflected. It's not the 100% reflection, and remaining 10% it may be the absorbed by the medium, or it may be transmitted or refracted by the medium, like this. Still we call this phenomena as a reflection. Why? Because the percentage of reflection is more. Okay, as the percentage of reflection is more, therefore we call this phenomena as a reflection. But in reality, okay, the some amount of light is transmitted as well as absorbed by the medium. Same in case of refraction. When 100% of light is incident on the medium, there may be 85 to 90% of light passes through the medium, it get refracted, and remaining the 10% is it may be reflected or it may be absorbed. But in this particular example, okay, if light undergoes total internal reflection, and what happens? The 100% of light is reflected. Okay, if the 100% of light is incident, the 100% of light is reflected. Therefore, we call this phenomenon as total reflection. Why it is called internal reflection? Let me see here. See again. So total internal reflection. Okay, so whenever the total internal reflection occurs, it has to satisfy the main two conditions here. So before that, let me draw the ray diagram. So for the refraction, you require two mediums. Okay, so let me take this. So this is the object. So let me assume that this is N2 and this one is N1. Your N2 should be greater than N1. Now this is a fine condition. Light should travel from denser medium to rarer medium. Only then the total internal reflection take place. Now this is the first condition. Okay, you are going to study here. If light travels from rarer to denser medium, then light doesn't undergoes TIR, total internal reflection. The first condition is light should travel from denser to rarer, not from rarer to denser. Okay, you can see here, light should travel from, this should be definitely this, your first medium should be denser and the second medium should be rarer. Okay, so this should be an denser medium. Okay, so this should be an denser medium. Okay, so this is the first ray. Okay, so to show the TR, let me take the large number of rays here. So this is the first ray. It falls normally. If I is 0, then R is also 0. If I is equal to 0, your R is also 0. Simply it get transmitted. Let me take the second ray. Okay, so second ray falls on this medium. Now you can see here. So this ray definitely it makes certain angle which is normal. Okay, so now see here. So this is, it makes certain angle here. Let me take this angle as some I1. Okay, so similarly, let me take the one more ray here. You can see here. Okay, so when it moves like this, you can see here the angle of incidence is somewhat increasing. Are you getting me? You can see here. Okay, if you are more bending, that means your angle of incidence is also increasing. You can see here. If I take the next particular ray here. Okay, so your angle of incidence is also increasing. So as the light is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium, what happens? Okay, in the last lecture we studied that when light travels from denser medium to rarer medium, it bend away from the normal. In the first case, I is 0, R is 0. In the second case, what happens? So this is your R here. Are you getting me? Okay, as your R should be what? Your R should be greater than I. No, that is a condition. Okay, in Snell's law, we studied that when light travel from denser medium to rarer medium, your R should be greater than I. So in the next case, as the angle increases, this one is also increases. Okay, as the angle of incidence goes on increases, the angle of refraction also increases. Are you getting me? Okay, so this is R1. If I take this R2, this is R3, I3. Okay, so as we move like this for a particular angle of incidence, now what happens? Now see, as the I increases, your R also increases, but which one is greater? R is greater than I. Your R is greater than I because it should bend away from the normal, therefore R is become greater than I. So for a particular angle of incidence, now what happens? Now see here, your R is goes on increasing 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, 40 degree, 80, and finally at some case it becomes what? In some case it becomes 90 degree. Now this is the final stage here. Okay, starting from zero and finally it becomes at 90 degree, but still I is not 90 because R is greater than I here. Now this is very interesting. I call this angle as IC. Okay, so now these angles are less than IC. When it is IC, your angle of refraction becomes 90 degree. Neither goes to the second medium, neither comes back to the same medium. It simply grazes on the surface. The refracted ray grazes on the surface here. You can see here. Okay, simply it is grazing on the surface. Okay, so if I cross that particular point here, if this angle, so this time you can see here, so this time this angle is greater than what? So this time this angle, you can see here this particular angle, let me take it as I4, which is greater than the IC, then what happens? Your final angle is 90 degrees. Then what happens? Very simple. Now instead of refraction, okay, so in the last lecture we say that if the two mediums are transparent, then refraction take place. But now this is a special condition here. Both the mediums are transparent, but still when this angle become greater than IC, then instead of refraction, what happens? The reflection take place. Instead of refraction, okay, so the reflection take place. This angle also becomes I4. Your angle of incidence is same as the angle of reflection. Are you getting me? Okay, so if the second medium is an opaque, if the second medium is coated, then the reflection take place. Okay, as we studied in the last consecutive lectures. If the both mediums are transparent, then what happens? Definitely the refraction take place. But this is a special case. This is a special case. Your both mediums are transparent, but there is a fine angle is there. That angle is called critical angle. If that angle of incidence is greater than critical angle, instead of a refraction, light undergoes reflection. Light undergoes reflection. And what type of reflection it is? The 100% light falls on this medium, then the 100% of light get reflected. Therefore, it is called total reflection. And why it is called internal? See, it is in the same medium. Okay, if we take the examples of optical fiber, something like this, the light gets reflected internally. Therefore, it is called internal reflection. Are you getting me? Okay, is it correct? So first you have the refraction, then there is some critical angle is there. At the critical angle, neither refraction take place nor reflection take place. If that angle becomes greater than the critical angle, then instead of refraction, reflection take place. And that reflection is called total internal reflection. Are you getting me? Okay, so for the condition, what is the condition for total internal reflection? There should be two conditions. Number one, light should travel from denser to rarer, not from rarer to denser. If it's rarer to denser, what happens? Very simple. When light travels from rarer to denser, then it should bend towards normal. Okay, towards normal. That means your R should be less than I. R should be less than I. Therefore, if you increase the angle of incidence, what happens? R also increases, but R is always less than I. So finally your angle of incidence becomes 90 degree, but still R is not 90, but it is R is less than 90. That means irradiator undergoes refraction. There is no case of reflection. Okay, when light travel from rarer to denser medium, then always the refraction take place. But when light travel from denser medium to rarer medium, plus when the angle of incidence become greater than the critical angle, then instead of refraction, reflection take place. Okay, so now therefore a total internal reflection is not a general phenomenon, it is a special case. It is a special case. The total internal reflection take place only when if it satisfies certain conditions. Condition number one. What is the condition number one? Light must travel from what? First one, it should travel from denser medium to rarer medium. This is the first condition. Your light should travel from denser medium to rarer medium. Condition number two. Okay, so in this I1, I2, I3, you can see that this I1 is less than IC, I2 is less than IC, and your I3 is also less than IC. Still you have the refraction take place. Okay, only when your angle of incidence becomes this angle. Okay, we call that angle as critical angle. We call this angle as critical. Are you getting me? Critical means what? This is some stage here. After crossing that stage, okay, so the condition may be reversed here. We call it as ICU. The person is in critical stage. That means what? He can live or he can die also. So that is a critical stage. Now that's a deciding stage. Now, therefore, we call this angle as a critical angle. Critical angle. Critical angle. Critical angle. What is critical angle? Very simple. Critical angle is the angle of incidence. It is nothing but the angle of incidence. It is the angle of incidence. Is the angle of incidence in the denser medium. In the denser medium, you can see here angle of incidence in the denser medium for which angle of refraction is is 90 degree. Okay, is the angle of incidence in the denser medium for which your angle of refraction becomes 90 degree. Now that angle is called critical angle, and TIR take place only when your angle of incidence is greater than critical angle. Very simple. So the second condition is angle of incidence must be greater than critical angle. Must be greater than critical angle. If these two conditions are satisfied, then we can say that light undergoes total internal reflection. We have the large number of applications on TIR. We have the optical fibers. The best example is an optical fibers. Okay, so let me take in the next lecture here. Okay, so the applications of TIR. The natural phenomenon of TIR is a mirage. It's an optical illusion. Again, it is due to the TIR. Okay, so what are the conditions of a TIR? Light should travel from denser medium to rarer medium, and angle of incidence must be greater than critical angle. Okay, so let me take here. So we have the refractive index. Okay, so we know the refractive index of the medium. For the glass it is 1.5, for the water it is 1.3, for the oils we have the refractive index, for the diamond it is 2.25, like this. So what is the approximate value of the critical angle? Okay, we can find the critical angle for the mediums here. Okay, so we can have the derivation of the critical angle with respect to the refractive mediums. Now the derivation is very simple. Okay, now look at this particular figure here. Okay, so this particular diagram is enough. Okay, so only this condition is enough. The condition of the critical angle. Okay, so for a particular angle of incidence, you can see here for a particular angle of incidence. Okay, so the particular angle of incidence, the refracted ray becomes what? This becomes 90 degree, and this angle is called critical angle. You can write C. Okay, IC, or simply you can write C also. IC. Okay, so critical angle. So this medium is N2. So this medium is N1. Okay, we can find the relation between IC, N1 and N2. If you know the refractive index of the medium, then you can easily give the value of critical angle, so that you can directly use the light to transmit on the other side in case of optical fibers, if you know the refractive index of that particular medium used in the optical fibers. Okay, therefore we have to derive the relation between critical angle and refractive index. For that, very simple, apply the Snell's law. Apply the Snell's law. Okay, so whenever the refraction takes place, you can apply the Snell's law. So what does the Snell's law says? The refractive index of the medium. What is the refractive index of the medium here? You can see here the refractive index of the medium is N2. The refractive index of the medium is N2 into sine of angle in that medium. The sine of angle in that medium is sine of IC. That should be equal to the refractive index of the medium into sine of angle in that medium. So that should be equal to what? That should be equal to refractive index of the other medium. What is the refractive index of the other medium? N1. Refractive index of the other medium into sine of angle in that medium. What is the sine of angle in that medium? The sine of angle in that medium is 90 degree. So this is sine of 90. Is it correct? Okay, so we have to derive the relation between the critical angle and the refractive index. Okay, for that particular derivation, this particular ray is enough. Okay, which shows the critical angle. Okay, so therefore I have taken this particular ray diagram here. So this is the critical angle, and this is the N1 and N2 are your refractive index. Apply the Snell's law. Refractive index of the medium into sine of angle in that medium into refractive index of the other medium into sine of angle in that medium. Therefore, it is N2 into sine of C is equal to N1 into sine of 90 degree. So you can see here, therefore N2 into your sine of IC is equal to N1 into sine of 90. What is sine of 90? 1. Is it correct? So sine of 90 is 1. Therefore, you can write here. Therefore, sine of IC, therefore the sine of IC can be written as N1 by N2. Sine of IC can be written as N1 by N2. Therefore, what is the expression for critical angle? The expression for the critical angle IC can be given by, if I take sine on the other side, it becomes sine inverse of N1 by N2. Okay, you will go into study the sine inverse. Okay, so in mathematics it is okay, inverse trigonometry, it comes under inverse trigonometry. So therefore IC critical angle is what? Sine inverse of N1 by N2. Okay, so if you know the refractive index, we can easily find the critical angle. That means what? So for every material we have certain critical angle. So if the light travels from denser to rarer, and if angle of incidence becomes greater than critical angle, definitely the TIR takes place. And there are, okay, so we have the large number of application for the example for the TIR. The best example is, the natural example is the spectacular, the brilliance appearance of diamond is the one example. Mirage is the second example, and we have in the syllabus. Okay, so we are going to study one artificial, the example of TIR, that is nothing but optical fibers. Okay, so these are the applications of TIR, which will be I am going to take in the next class. Okay, so thank you for your kind attention.